You reach endgame and wanted to farm so badly to max out your most loved characters, but life does not permit it because of personal circumstances. Well, you are not alone, and in this guide is for you. Fortunately, we still do have a lot of ways to keep up and at least have some progress while tending to our busy lives. I'm the Samurai, and I will be sharing my auto farming practices and optimization along with the best spots in the game depending on what currency you need for your character's progression. So I made this guide to get you up to speed on what are the good practices while auto farming, especially if you are one of the busiest persons on earth like me. This guide was broken down into each important currency or material in the game along with my suggested setup or team composition. But first, I will be sharing my team composition during my auto runs. Regarding my party setup, Rackham is crucial for auto farming outside of Maniac difficulty and definitely the best choice as a ranged DPS with a decent range. Well, you can use him in Maniac difficulty as another DPS, no problem with that, and he will take care of deleting enemies when doing auto runs outside of Maniac difficulty. You can make him your main DPS if you wish to and equip him with extra damage caps and multipliers for best results. Here's a quick rundown of his skills that have been working well for me. Coffin Maker for continuous damage, Spitfire for defense down, Double Tap for extra damage, and Wild Gunsmoke for attack and critical hit chance buffs. For my other characters, I chose Percival to be the team's damager and buffer at the same time, and his Flaming March skill, I hope that I pronounced that correctly again, can stack with Cagliostro's Phantasmagoria, so that's an option as well. Yugen is another ranged DPS and can also paralyze enemies, making runs faster. And last, my main DPS is Narmaya since she is my main. Your main DPS can be anyone since this is a personal choice. Now moving on to equipment suggestions, and this is all for the players who already reach endgame. I advise having all weapons between 125 to 150 level range and at least 100% on mastery boards in terms of attack and defense. If you are having a hard time getting mastery points, I did a progression guide on how to access the best farming spots in the game, so be sure to check the card here and I'll link it as well in the description section below. It's not really that hard to attain these requirements, especially if you are following my guides lately. One thing to keep in mind is the stronger your characters are, the faster your auto runs will be, so I suggested the necessary upgrades as a base point before you do these runs. Your team may be better than mine, so you will be having better results. This is my second account, so you will have an idea that it will not take that much of an effort to do auto farms even on Maniac difficulty. Now, for you to engage on these farming methods, first you need to know how to do auto farms. For you to do auto farming, we need to have the proper settings first. Go to your settings, head to gameplay, and set the difficulty to story. Turn the next setting to full assist mode. This will enable you to do auto farm and you are all set. And the next thing that you need to do is to ensure that you will always toggle repeat quests after your first run, so you will be able to repeat 9 times more until auto run stops, so keep this in mind. Alright, time for the farming spots and currencies. As mentioned previously, I will be diving into each of the currencies that I always farm, so you will have an idea where to go just in case you need that specific currency. For the first spot or for the first currency, I am referring to Fortitude Crystals. Fortitude Crystals play a pivotal role when maxing weapon levels, and since we do have a lot of weapons to work on, these materials runs dry pretty quickly. What I usually do is to farm in Shed Light on a Pillar Extreme difficulty quest, and these quests last for 4 minutes and Rackham and your party will run through the enemies pretty quickly, so it would not be an issue. At the end of each run, you will be getting Fortitude Crystals like candy with little to no effort, and it piles up pretty quickly. And also you can get a lot of these from spamming future-proof trading quests, which I will explain later on. Also, if you are actively farming in the best spots in the game, like in Assault Formation or Slimepeed, like for example, you can easily trade Fortitude Crystal L for 0 in exchange for Rafale Coins. Rafale Coins are so common, especially when AFK farming, so keep an eye out on this one. Also, my second farming spot for Fortitude Crystals, especially the large one, is the Blazing Trial quest in Proud difficulty. Although auto farming this quest requires a different party setup, I highly suggest checking my Silver Centrum farming guide to know the specifics of auto farming in Maniac and Proud difficulty quests. What good thing about this quest is it draws Fortitude Crystal large, damage cap 5+, Tyranny 5 Plus, and more. Plus, you will be farming Curios and Silver Centrums as well in the process, making it one of the ideal spots, and it is kinda making hit 4 birds with 1 stone, and that's kinda provide a lot of value to the table. But before the next step, if you are into straight to the point guides, tips and tricks like this one, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button and it will tremendously help me a lot. Consider joining the Empire today and your support is greatly appreciated. Now on to the next step. The next currency is mastery points. I find mastery points really abundant at endgame, or especially when farming for other materials, since as time goes by, you will not notice that your mastery points pile up. However, if you really need mastery points while wanting to farm in auto, I suggest selecting the following extreme quest. General Investigation Galanza will reward you with Earth Shards. The next quest would be the very hard quest, which is the next hot topic, which you will be farming an Infernadil, which usually lasts for a minute. It will provide you with the fire shards that you need to get the mastery points that you need later, while also getting Curios in the process, which I will explain later on. After auto farming in the side quest, you will have tons of earth and fire shards. What I usually do is turn in these items to a special side quest known as the Future Proof Trading. You can unlock this quest by completing all of the side quests in Folka. I have also unlocked this quest even if I did not do the Weeping Sir quest, so take note of that. Each turn in will give you Fortitude Crystal M and L and 700 MSP. Then access Lyria's journal to respawn a quest giver for you to repeat the process to your heart's content. Now moving on to the next currency, which is Knickknack Vouchers. This is pretty basic for most of us, but even so, I tend to forget that I do have a lot of excess materials and unwanted sigils after hours and hours of auto farming. Just trade in your excess materials and sigils to 0 and it will pile up in no time. This applies to all quests, so keep an eye out for this one. Okay, so moving on to the next one, and that is raw materials. Of course, if you need specific raw materials, anywhere between hard to extreme quests will do. Depending on your needs, I find myself always auto farming on the following stages. Extreme quest, Wings of Conflagration for Red Dragon Scale, since you will be needing a handful of these when upgrading your damage cap sigils across your party members. Lastly, I also auto farm in the hard difficulty quest, Death of Our Lives for Washroom and Broken Sword, which can be traded later on for easy silver centrums. So if you are looking for a low level quest of spam, this is the best one in my opinion. So moving on to Curios and Silver Centrums. Now regarding Curios, all of the said quests I mentioned have a decent chance to drop Curios, especially the next hot topic quest. This is my main source of Curios, so most of the time while auto farming. However, Curios and Silver Centrum have their own guide, since these materials have their depth, especially Silver Centrum, which requires different setups and farming spots. Now if you want to know how I farm for Curios and Silver Centrum in auto, click the videos here, and thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.